Hello, welcome to another reading of Sermons by Robin. This one is actually a pseudo-romantic one. I read through most of it, but there'll probably be some surprises in here for me too. This was from 1999, so for those of you who don't know me, I was 14. So, this was for Valentine's Day 1999 by my father, Dr. Robin A. Riggs. For the First Church of God in Allegan. That's Allegan, Michigan. And let's see, our text is Song of Songs, which, if you know the Bible, can get kind of interesting in this book. But let's see where this takes us, shall we? All right, Song of Songs, chapter 7, verses 10 through 12. I think we're going to end up reading it twice. I'm going to read it first, and then later it's supposed to be read again, so it's fine. Let's see. Chapter 7, verses 10 through 12. This is under the heading of Beloved. It says, I belong to my lover, and his desire is for me. Come, my lover, let us go to the countryside. Let us spend the night in the villages. Let us go early to the vineyards to see if the vines have budded, if their blossoms have opened, and if the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give you my love. All right. Fancy. All right. There are several instances of romance in the Bible. The heart is considered romantic. When you're looking at a deck of cards, this is a different example. If you're looking at the spade, it is not romantic, right? It's kind of the opposite of romantic. But when we're looking at Adam and Eve, or when we're looking at the Bible with instances of romance and kind of the opposite, non-romance, there's a lot of both. So let's start with a romantic one. We've got Adam and Eve, obviously. Adam's reaction when he first saw Eve, look it up. It's a great reaction. But then we've got we've got Abraham and Sarah. Well, Abraham actually let Pharaoh take Sarah into his harem. He didn't protest, and God had to intervene when they returned to Canaan. He probably walked behind her with his tail between his legs. But then we look at Isaac and Rebekah, and it was love at first sight. And we have Jacob and Rachel. Jacob was so in love with Rachel that after he watered her sheep, that's a whole different lesson. And it's not a euphemism for those of you who haven't read the story. It's not a euphemism. He literally drew water from the well to water the flock of sheep she was taking care of for her father. Okay, so literal sheep, literal water. Which is kind of the equivalent of carrying her books or laying down his coat across a puddle, if you're looking for like a modern equivalent. He worked 7 years to marry her. That was the agreement between her father and him. And they went by fast. But then he was tricked, and he was given her sister instead. So he worked another 7 years. He worked 14 years for this man so that he could marry the woman that he loved. When she died, he was heartbroken for the rest of his life. We also have Obed and Ruth. This relationship was cultivated through kindness. Next, we have David and Bathsheba. Romantic or not? Not. It was adventurous, but wrong. This is not romance. David took Bathsheba as his wife after he saw her, coveted her, took her to his... She was married. That's the adultery part. Anyway, you can find that in the Bible if you haven't read it. Yes. So this is not romance. It is one of those things that looks wonderful on the outside, but soon shows its true and tragic nature. Okay? Then we look at Solomon and his bride. That was also a love story. That is where we get the Song of Solomon. It's a type of imagery that represents Christ and his church, but it's also a literal romance. Sometimes the Song of Solomon gets a little erotic for the senses of some people who don't realize that romance and eroticism in the right context is actually a great gift from God. Now, men. Now again, this was my father writing this, so I cannot speak like a man, but here we go. Men, how do you do on the romance meter? Do you say I love you with words? There's the famous story of Ole and Olga. Ole and Olga lived on a farm in Iowa. Olga was living on a starvation diet of affection. Ole never gave her any signs of love, and Olga needed to be appreciated. And all of those needs went unfulfilled. At her wit's end, Olga blurted out, Ole, why don't you ever tell me that you love me? Ole stoically responded, Olga, when we were married, I told you that I loved you. And if I ever change my mind, I'll let you know. On the other side of that, we have the story of a college boy who came into a photographic studio with a framed picture of his girlfriend. He wanted the picture duplicated. In removing the photograph from the frame, the studio owner noticed the inscription on the back written by the girlfriend, To my dearest Tommy, I love you with all my heart. I love you more and more each day. I will love you forever and ever. I am yours for all eternity. It was signed Diane and contained a P.S. If we should ever break up, I want this picture back. How often do you say it with words? And how? Do you have a explanation for how she dresses, cooks? Do you have a nickname, a term of endearment that you use? Sorry, I just thought of my husband's for me. If you want to know, you can make a comment. Otherwise, I'm not going to say it. Anyway, do you write poems or love notes? John Eckelberger, who is a friend of my father's, was known for writing Valentine's Day cards to his wife. And we could also look at another story of a farmer who was sitting on the porch with his wife, and he was beginning to realize how much she meant to him. And it was about time, for they had lived together for 42 years, and she had been such a help and a very willing worker. One day, as they sat together, he said, Wife, you've been such a wonderful woman that there are times I can hardly keep from telling you. Why didn't he just tell her? Do you say I love you with service? Chores, errands, random acts of senseless kindness. Senseless meaning unasked for. Sometimes silly. Do you say I love you with gifts? Flowers, candy, affirmation, praise. What about with special dates? Dress-up events, dinner out, maybe go to a play. Or by spending time together, walking the dog, or just walking without a dog if you don't have one. Walking the cat if you walk your cat. I added that. Sit in a park, at a cafe, just talking, holding hands, without it necessarily leading to other things. Maybe a walk through a park, a zoo, downtown, going to the beach or watching a sunset, having a picnic. Maybe you say it with affection and intimacy. Cuddle in front of a fire, hug, caresses. Let's look at a story of a woman who was suffering from depression. So her concerned husband took her to a psychiatrist. The doctor listened to the couple talk about their relationship, and then he said, the treatment I prescribe is really quite simple. With that, he went over to the wife, gathered her up in his arms, and gave her a big kiss. He then stepped back and looked at the woman's glowing face and big smile. Turning to the woman's husband, he said, See, that's all she needs to put new life back in her. Expressionless, the husband said, Okay, Doc, I can bring her on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Maybe another thing that you do is doing a joint mission together. Volunteer together at a nursing home, soup kitchen, do a walk-a-thon or a marathon, that sort of thing. Time together. Now, ladies, sit back and relax. At this point, my dad is mainly going to be talking to men. Okay? So, mostly talking to husbands, but singles and youth should also listen. Take notes. Because if you ever want to get to that point, it's good to have something already set up in your head that you can go back through that file cabinet and go, okay, I know how to do this, or I know what to do now. All right, men, if you are there, repeat after me. And if you are anywhere near your wife or girlfriend, look into her eyes and say, How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height. My soul can reach when feeling out of sight. For the end of being and ideal grace, I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall love thee better after death. Poem by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. And if you are repeating, you can stop now. All right. Let's look at Song of Songs, chapter 7, verse 10 through 12 again. All right. I belong to my lover, and his desire is for me. Come, my lover, let us go to the countryside. Let us spend the night in the villages. Let us go early to the vineyards to see if the vines have budded, if their blossoms have opened, and if the pomegranates are in bloom. There I will give you my love. All right. Doug Fields once said, the lack of dating and romance is one of the major causes of a broken relationship. The major cause of a broken relationship for marriage, I'm sorry, Doug Fields, the lack of dating and romance is one of the major causes of broken relationships. Marriages usually don't collapse overnight. They become bankrupt gradually because they lack daily deposits of love, communication, and affirmation. If you want to add life to your marriage, perhaps even save its life, you'd better do whatever it takes to bring romance and dating back into the picture. Indeed, husbands, no matter how long you've been married, you can still date and woo and court your wife. Men and women tend to view romance differently. I don't want to stereotype anyone, but we have to face the facts that there are differences in how men and women see and experience romance. Many a man has become confused because he thought he was doing something romantic and it turned out wrong. Many women feel the romance has gone out of their relationships and sometimes pretty soon after their wedding. Often men equate romance with sex. However, women generally equate romance with a relationship that is growing, maturing, and making her feel special. Whether or not it leads to sex is irrelevant. Men also tend to see romance as requiring a series of big or extravagant events. That's how we score in the business world, so we think that's how we score as husbands. And there's nothing wrong with memory-making times, but most women would like us to ask them what their pleasure is and then do it, even if it's dishes. For most women, consistency and kindness by men is what is most romantic. Romance is not a test we suddenly cram for. Romance is a day in, day out preposition seizing the moment to show love and affection. When you raid the refrigerator for a drink, ask your wife what she would like. Get the morning paper for her to read in bed. Live out romantic love in a day-to-day service. How many men really know how to romance their wives in the little ways that mean a lot? What did you do when you were dating her? Sometimes after the wedding ceremony and the honeymoon, indifference takes over, and we men simply forget to romance our wives. Pages are sticky. Okay. And romancing our wives and keep a good thing going. Guys, whatever happened to romance and fun in your marriage? Gone are the days when you used to open the door for her to get into the car. You used to buy her flowers and candy, and now you may forget to even give her a card. Gone are the weekly nights and occasional creative dates. Humdrum routine take their place. Our wives want to be romanced. If you are not sure how to do that, ask her. You might be surprised to find out that romance need not be expensive. Consistency is what counts. Ask questions. Learn together. Don't think about candlelit dinners at home or a meal out at her favorite restaurant. Remember the little things. Helping out, offering praise, a tender look. These build romance. Some guys have all the romantic flair of a wet rag. My dad said it, not me. They think their wives will feel loved because they bring home a paycheck and provide her with a house. I'm sorry. Apparently the typewriter, because this was written with a typewriter, was running out of ink for a second. So, for a good reason for a good lesson and complimenting your wife or using romantic language, read the Song of Songs, or some call it the Song of Solomon. On July 29th, 1981, about 750 million people That's 1/6 of the people of the world watched the wedding of the century that took place in England, the wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana. After that wedding, an Archbishop of Canterbury made this statement: "Here is the stuff of which fairy tales are made, the prince and the princess on their wedding day. But fairy tales usually end at this point with the simple phrase, 'They lived happily ever after.' This may be because fairy tales regard marriage as an anticlimax after romance and courtship and the wedding. This is not the Christian view. Men usually love and chase more than just the catch. So after our last big date and the wedding, we back off the romance. Yet dating your mate should not stop then. Before you were married, you did everything you could do to assure her that you loved her. Why not continue with that? Wouldn't it be great if we husbands spent as much time, if not more, seeking to please our mate after the marriage vows are spoken as we did before? Turn the clock back, men. According to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 32 to 33, it says an unmarried man is concerned about the Lord affairs, how he can please the Lord, but a married man is concerned about the affairs of this world, how he can please his wife. That may sound like a negative statement about marriage, that a married man can't really serve the Lord effectively because he is preoccupied with pleasing his wife. But Paul is saying something positive here about the reality and validity of a wife's needs. A married man is concerned with pleasing his wife. That's as it should be. In romancing my wife, the key issue is, am I seeking to please her? Not just doing what I feel needs to be done, but truly taking in her preferences. A man who does seminars on marriage asked a woman what her husband did to build romance in their marriage. She said, "Well, the more I think about it, it's not really the big things, it's the little things. Don't get me wrong, I like receiving jewelry and other nice gifts, but it's the little things that my husband has chosen to do that enhance my feelings of acceptance, affirmation, and love." He asked her to elaborate, so she did, and she said every morning, even if they are away on a trip, her husband always brings her a morning cup of coffee in bed, even when he has to drive to a convenience store to get one. No matter who travels where or where she is spending the night, home or away, every night he calls her. He intentionally finds excuses so he can drive her to work. Such a man understands the power of romance. Romance is having fun with your mate. When men often think there must be some kind of agenda anytime we get together, but let your wife know that you are with her just to be with her. Romancing your wife means enjoying her idiosyncrasies. We often dwell negatively on little quirks in our spouse and our family, and then we forget how to laugh about differences and the funny things that happen. Can you have a sense of humor in the midst of crisis and chaos? Family, a church? Can you have fun being a couple, a family, a church? Lesson for men who want to be romantic. Why get angry over mishaps or plan big romantic events to make up for last time, when you can draw close through enjoying humor in the crazy things and the crisis events that happen in your everyday life together? Those are the only things that are promised. Lighten up, have a little fun, enjoy the lighter side of life together. Irritants become opportunities to grow, and together we can laugh at them. So, Song of Songs, chapter 2, verse 14, which ironically, 2:14, February 14th, Valentine's Day. My dove in the clefts of the rock, in the hiding places on the mountainside, show me your face, let me hear your voice, for your voice is sweet, and your face is lovely. Now, I know this was written for men, because that's who my dad was talking to that day, but before I completely lose daylight, I wanted to throw something out there to ladies if you're watching. Don't just take notes for your husband, even though this was, or boyfriend, or significant other, or future partner, but it's important to also tell them, even if they don't ask. Sometimes they don't know how to ask. Don't expect them to read your mind. That sounds cliche, something that you hear all the time. Can't read your mind, don't know what you're thinking. If you don't like something, tell them, because they probably don't notice. They probably don't know. And we were not created to be able to read each other's minds. Tell them if you don't like something so that it doesn't become an irritant and become a stone that in your shoe of your relationship. Tell them what you do like and remind them, because sometimes they don't remember that either. And I'm not saying this negatively, and I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying it doesn't hurt to not expect them to read your mind. Just like we don't expect them to, well, we do expect them to read our minds, but we shouldn't, because we can't read theirs. Sometimes we can read body language, but that's a whole different situation. So anyway, my point is, ladies, don't expect your husbands to read your minds. Really don't try to read theirs, because so often we get it wrong. That is what words were given to us for. We have mouths. If we are deaf, we have signs. God gave us hands. Communicate. Communication is key. That is how you are able to work through those crises together. All right. Done. And I'm running out of daylight, which I know because my neighbor's light just turned on. Okay. Father, thank you for this beautiful reminder of how you created us to love each other in the context of marriage. And not only that, but the beautiful reminder of how much you love us as your people, as your church. That this relationship, this close knit, we are able to have that with a spouse. And even if time takes them away, we have those memories. And even if we don't have them yet, we have that to look forward to someday. Pray that you give us patience and grace for each other and ourselves. Help us to communicate. Really help us to communicate. Be with us as we learn to live with other people, not just in relationships like this, Father, but even with friendships, close friendships and family. Remind us how important communication is, even with them. Bring us closer together. Let us show the world your love through how we treat others, especially our spouses, our families, our kids. Help us to be different so that we can be that light in the darkness. In your name we pray.